right field. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and good Shabbos. It is a beautiful evening, a bit of overcast, but I like it. And today was a nice day as well. If you were in Huntington, maybe you stopped by to see the time capsule being sealed for the 150th sesquicentennial, 150th birthday of the city. And it was a nice event. I got to hear the Marshall University Marching Band for the first time, and they are a treat. So it was a wonderful event this morning. And this afternoon, it was pretty nice here. Again, no blue skies today, but it was pleasant. But no matter what, it's Shabbat. So it could be raining, it could be snowing, it could be sleeting. We're here for Shabbat. All right, before we start to welcome Shabbat, we'll have Sam Bench Licht light the Shabbos candles. If you want to follow along, it's on page 3 and then back to page 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, but by our lives, give light to all who behold us. Brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahalit ner shel Shabbat.
Hey. Thank you, Sam. All right, let's begin Kabbalah Shabbat, the welcoming of Shabbat. The Kabbalah Panim, according to the Siddur, which is a fancy way of saying welcoming, the receiving of a face, right? When you welcome somebody, you receive their face. And so Kabbalah Panim, or Kabbalah Shabbat for short. Let's, on page 6, let's read responsively in English. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity.
May the threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness.
May the synagogue be for all who enter it, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
All right, let's continue on page 20, Lecha Dodi, song that comes to us from the mystical city of Tzfat. And right around this time, a couple of hundred years ago, actually more than a couple of hundred years ago, 1500, 1600s, 500, 600 years ago, the mystics of Tzfat would go out into the hills up the Upper Galil, which is a beautiful part of Eretz Yisrael, and they would watch the sun sink behind the hills, and they would all be dressed in white, and they would sing this song along with other songs to welcome Shabbat and put the week behind them. So pages 20 and 21. Lecha Dodi, and we'll make it through all the verses. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad. Ishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'lithilah lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor ha'bracha merosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila lecha dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך אפיך, רב לך שבט בימך בך, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, על יד בן אישי בית לחמי, עורבה אל נפשי גלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, התעוררי, כי באורק קומי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לא תבושי ולא תקומי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תמי, בך יחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר אל תילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, והיו לשמשת שוסייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כי ימסוס חתן על כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובשולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Let's turn the page to 22, and we'll see verses from Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat. Let's read the outdented paragraph together in English, and then we'll sing Tzadik Katamar together. A song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai. How very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Tzadik Katamar yifrach, Ke'erez balvanot yiskeh shetulim bebeit Adonai b'chatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu. O Jenuvun v'seiva Nishenim v'ra'ananim yihiyu lehagi ki ashar Adonai tzuri Velo avlato. Page 24, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShahari, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Marchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We'll close out Kabbalah Shabbat with Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hiruteh, ve'amlich malchuteh, v'chayechon u'v'yom hechon, u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam lomei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudasha brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata v'amiram v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. I'm going to jump back to page 146, and we're going to begin the Arvit service, Arvit l'Shabbat, the evening service for Shabbat, and we'll begin with Baruch Hu, page 146. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam va'ed. Page 147. Let's read together the three paragraphs in the middle of the page. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish. But your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you and endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. 148. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, amcha havta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, b'shochveinu uvkumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu v'yorech yameinu uvahem nege yomam v'layla yomam v'layla ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu li'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom halevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu latotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'hisharecha Leman tizkeruhu va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim leloechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 151. Let's read responsively. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all.
Yet that oneness eludes our grasp, its imperfection and evil abound.
Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned God's presence redeems time and vengeance, so we celebrate His power that makes for freedom.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nohora tehilot, ohosefele, malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, Zeili anu v'amru, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, v'nemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, uga'alo miad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Page 153, Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Let's read together in English. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence, we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, V'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 154. Verses from the book of Shemot, verses from the book of Exodus. We know it as Vishamru, and it's not Shabbat without Vishamru. Top of 154. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berito olam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berito olam Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti li'olam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berito olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berito olam Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berito olam. We're at the centerpiece of the evening service for Shabbat, the Amidah. 155, 156, and 157 we'll chant together, and then we'll be silent 158 through the end on 165. And you can chant along with us and then read the Hebrew or read the English or offer up your own meditative prayer during this time. Page 155, the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach, rufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach, rufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim Vekonei Hakol Vezocher Chasdei Avot Ve'imahot Umevi Goel Livnei V'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Hozer U'Moshiach U'Magid Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye metim atah Rav laHoshia. Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem. Mechalpel chayim bechesed. Mechaye metim berachamim rabim. Somech noflim berofeh choholim. Umatir asurim. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גיבורו ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. Completing your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. We're going to be on page 160, reading English together in the middle of the page. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Oh, page 163, a little bit of Hoda'ah, a little bit of Thanksgiving. Yesterday, I received some very good news from a dear friend of mine that he's kind of a unicorn. He found himself back in, he's living in Georgia near his mom, where he grew up. But for many years, he worked on Broadway. And in Chattanooga, Tennessee, there are a conglomeration of theaters looking for somebody to run the front of house. And they found him, and he found them, and they thought that they would never find someone with his qualifications. And he thought he wouldn't be working in theater for a very long time. So it all worked out. So good news, and something for me to be very, very thankful for. But we all could be thankful for anything, really. It doesn't have to be something huge. It could be just being able to, tie your shoes in the morning. Somebody had to teach you how to tie your shoes. So be grateful for being able to tie your shoes. Anything you could be grateful for. Adopt an attitude of gratitude. Page 163, let's read responsively. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world with our hearts and our hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, but hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being.
And we'll close out the Amidah, as usual, with a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Hamcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol heit ubechol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rahav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, amivorech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. Page 253, the Mishaberach. Mishaberach Ahavoteinu Mikor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. All right, the prayers for our community, pages 258 and 259. We'll read these together. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, sha'otecha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. Sha'alu shalom Yerushalayim, yishlayu ohavayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'go'alo, Varech et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Smichat Ge'ulatenu. Hagain aleha bi'evrat chastecha, ufros aleha sukat shlomecha, ushlach orcha va'amitcha l'rasheha sareha v'yoetzeha, v'takneim v'eitzah tova milfanecha, v'natata shalom ba'aretz, v'simchat olam liyoshveha, v'nomar amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. Parshat Vayera. It's a biggie. It is probably, out of all of the parshiot in the book of Genesis, all of the Torah portions found there, this one is probably the most packed. There is a ton of material, and many of the stories are recognizable. After his milah, after his ritual circumcision last week, Abraham is sitting in the front of his tent recovering. And three men approach. And instead of kind of slipping back into his tent so they don't notice him, Abraham runs out to greet them. And he feeds them and he waters them, which is, a funny way of greeting guests. Here, have some water. But that was the way of the desert, right? When guests, unannounced or announced, came past your tent, you had to welcome them. And because of what he does for them, they say to him, in a year's time, they will have a son. Both Sarah and Abraham will become parents. And Sarah laughs, right? And this is a very famous piece where, one of the visitors, they say, the commentators say that the visitors are angels and one of them is God. And so when Sarah laughs, she's laughing at God. And, that's an old interpretation. And I don't think she's laughing at God. I think she's laughing at the fact that she's going to be 90. And she's thinking, I'm going to have a kid at 90? That was what made her laugh. I don't think she was being disrespectful. I think she was just kind of nervous. It's like, I'm going to be 90. This is not the normal way of things. After that little vignette, we turn our attention to two cities in the plain, Sodom and Amorah, also known as Sodom and Gomorrah. And God says to Abraham, I'm going to destroy these cities because they are so wicked. And the last time God did something like that, said, I'm going to destroy something, the person to whom he said it remained silent. In this case, Abraham challenges God. He says words that, ring true. Shall the judge of all the earth not deal justly? Right? Should the innocent die with the guilty? Right? Abraham calls God out. God says, I'm going to destroy these cities because they're wicked. And Abraham says, no, not all of them. Not everybody there is wicked. You're going to destroy everybody because, a lot of people are wicked, but what about the ones who aren't wicked? So they bargain, right? Abraham says, you're going to destroy the city? What if there's 50 righteous people there? God says, okay, I won't destroy it if you find 50 people. Abraham says, what about 45? You're going to destroy a city because of a lack of 5? God says, no worries. I won't destroy the city if you can find 45 good people. Abraham then says 40. God says, okay, 30, 20, all the way down to 10. God says, I'm not going to destroy the city if you can find me 10 righteous people. Abraham can't find 10 righteous people in the cities of Sodom and Amorah. Try as he might. His nephew Lot is there. He's living in Sodom, and the angels show up at his door. Now, there's another famous story here where the men of the city come to do mischief to the angels. And, we're not 100% sure exactly what that mischief is. A number of very interesting interpretations of that. But Lot says, no, don't do any harm to my guests. You can have my daughters. They've never been with a man, so you can have my daughters, which is problematic in its own way in the book of Genesis, where daughters are seen as, throwaways in a way, right? Lot's ready to give these men his daughters to protect his guests. But the angels reveal themselves and tell Lot, take your family and leave, and don't look back. Well, we know the famous story. Lot and his daughters and his wife leave, but his wife, who's nameless, much like Noah's wife, she looks back and she's turned into a pillar of salt. After the story of Sodom and Amorah, we get another trip with Abraham and Sarah to a land where it's ruled by a king. And Abraham once again says to his wife, pretend you're my sister. And, no harm will come to me. Well, this time, instead of the king taking her, the king Abimelech has a dream in which God says, you know what, that woman that you're planning on taking out to dinner tomorrow night, she's married to somebody. She's married to somebody important. And of course, Abimelech wakes up and calls Abraham and says, hey, what's going on? And they have an exchange, and then Abimelech gives him lots of treasure. We have the birth of Yitzchak. We have the birth of Isaac, naturally, and the exile of Ishmael, right? Abraham's first son through Hagar. And Hagar is told she takes the boy out and she puts him under a bush, and she walks away because they're out of water. They have no food. And she can't bear to hear her son cry. And an angel shows up and says, listen, don't worry. Your son is going to be a great nation as well. So just have faith and go where you need to go, but have faith that Ishmael will become a great nation. And then the story really ends in chapter 22 with Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac, in which Abraham is tested by God and asked to sacrifice Isaac, which it's interesting. Abraham doesn't argue with God on this one. Abraham takes Isaac and gets ready to offer him up. And depending on how you read the particular verse with the ram, Abraham either kills Isaac along with the ram, or spares Isaac and slays the ram. And that's basically where the parsha ends. But there's one thing that we have to know going forward with the Abraham story. After this parsha, Abraham never speaks to Isaac again. Abraham never speaks to Sarah again. And Abraham and God have no further conversations. So this is one of those moments in which three relationships are shattered because of Abraham and God's command to sacrifice Isaac. So that's the parsha in a nutshell. And there are no mitzvot this week. No mitzvot found in this particular parsha. So the parsha in a nutshell. All right. It's LGBTQ History Month, and the first week we looked at three rabbis. Last week we looked at a political figure, Harvey Milk, who changed politics actually nationwide with what he did in San Francisco. And this week I'm going to introduce us to a woman who was a tremendous influence in the gay community, but just about nobody remembers her name. And she died just a few years ago. She died in the early 2000s, and her name is Betty Berzon. And, for such a small group as the Jews, and in that even smaller group of gay and lesbian Jews, we have a lot of firsts, right? Firsts in the country, first in the world, first in major cities. And while many of us might know who Betty was, she made a huge impact, not only on the LGBTQ community, but also in medicine. She was one of the first psychotherapists to treat lesbian and gay patients and treat them not as that they were ill, that their being gay or lesbian was the cause of their problems, but she would become a therapist to them, right? She treated them like all of her other patients and did not try to cure their sexuality. Now, today, this might not seem like it's a big deal, but in the late 60s and going into the early 70s, homosexuality was considered to be a mental illness, something that could be cured. And you had many, many psychiatrists and psychotherapists and analysts who went to all lengths to cure people of their same-sex attractions. And there are a number of books written, and I can't read many of those books because some of the ways that they tried to cure us make my stomach turn. But at age 40, Betty came out privately as a lesbian. And that was around 1968, 1969. In 1971, at a UCLA conference called The Homosexual in America, right? That's a great title for a conference. She publicly came out. She came out in front of her colleagues. She came out in front of the medical world. And she became the first psychotherapist the first psychotherapist in our country to openly declare herself as a gay mental health professional. Now, again, you say, so what? At that time, the APA considered homosexuality a disease, and she could have lost all of her credentials. She could have very easily had her life upended and ruined. But 2 years later, because of the hard work that she did and her refusal to back down, the APA declassified homosexuality as a disease. All right, so in 1971, I was 4, right? It just breaks my heart to think what people before that had to endure when they came out, right? And it was because of Betty and her work with gays and lesbians at that time that the APA had no choice but to reevaluate its stance on same-sex attraction. And so we thank her for that. Now, if that is all she had done, that would be more than enough. As we say in Pesach, Dayenu, right? If that was all she had done, that would be enough. But her lifelong passion for working towards civil rights and equality, even at the end of her life. She was a beacon in the Los Angeles gay and lesbian community, and she fought against prejudice until her untimely death at age 78 of breast cancer. 5 years before she died, she was admitted to hospital. And when she was asked if she was single, married, divorced, she replied, "None of the above. I've lived with a woman for 29 years. And her partner, Terry DiCrescenzo, that was her partner's name, and they were together until the day she died. But because her response caused such a backup in the admissions process, right? It was such a holdup. Now, I lived in LA for 4 years, and if you go to the hospital, if you hold up the paperwork, people start to get agitated. And nurses and doctors and everybody gets agitated because lots of people go to the hospital in LA and they want it streamlined. And they did not know what to do with Betty and her response. So in 2001, all hospitals in LA have had a box for domestic partner, and that was added to the single, married, divorced, domestic partner. And so Betty, if our good deeds get us into heaven, Betty could get us all into heaven with what she did during her life. And she was a giant, and she deserves to be remembered, not only during LGBTQ History Month, but wherever Jews gather, right? Because she, like Harvey Milk, like our 3 gay and lesbian rabbis, paved the way and made the world a better place. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Sam, what time is it?
Kiddush.
It's Kiddush time.
I'm psychic. I knew what you're going to ask before you said.
I know, but I haven't said it in such a while because you and James have been so busy at the school, at the university. So I almost forgot the second part. What time is it? It is Kiddush time. Vahi erev, vahi voker, yom hashishi. Vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz. V'chol tzivam, vayachal Elohim bayom hashvi, melachto asher asa, vayishbot bayom hashvi, mikol melachto asher asa, vayavarech Elohim et yom hashvi, vayikadesh oto, kivo shavat, mikol melachto, Asher bara Elohim la'asot. Savri, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, Bi'ahava uvratzon in chilanu, zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, V'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Page 282. Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol latet kedula liotzer breshit. Shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot hadama. Shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegoraleinu yechol hamonam. Va'anachnu korim, umishpachavim umodim, lifnei melech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Noteh Shamayim v'Yoseh Haaretz, U'Moshe v'Yikaro b'Shamayim Imah, U'Shchinatu Zo, v'Gov Hei Meromim, U'Eloheinu Eino, Emet Malkeinu Efes Zulato, Kakatu V'Torato, V'Yadata Hayom V'Hashivota, Eleva Lecha,
Ki Adonai hu Elohim, Bashamayim mimhal, Mi'al haaretz, mitachat eino. כתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad.
We extend our condolences to Dennis Hamill, Lisa Ketchum, and the entire Hamill family. Dennis's wife, Ina, died October 18th in Florida, and Ina is the mother of Lisa, Sherry, and Jeff. And a graveside service will be held on Sunday, October 24th at 11 a.m. in the Reform section of the Spring Hill Cemetery. We continue Shloshim for David Field. And this week, we observed the following yahrzeits: Charles Glick, relative of Betty Kolker; Miriam Hume, Betty Kolker's sister; Beryl Corrand, Howard's wife; Saul Cohen, David and Billy Glick's uncle; Dennis Rogers, Rose Ritter's father; Minnie Simons, mother of Bob; Philip Edwin Rose, Elaine Skoll's cousin; Aharon Rosenblum, relative of Valerie White; Milton Supman, you might know him by his TV name, Soupy Sales, and he's a cousin of Maury Hartz; Michael Goldston, Joan Lerner's father; Sandra Silverstein, mother of Marla Balakla. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us always. May they all rest in peace. Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei. B'chayechon u'vyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah bevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudisha brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. The Amiram v'Alma v'Imru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'Imru Amen. Oseh Shalom b'mramav. Hu ya'aseh Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'Imru Amen. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. Couple of announcements. Services tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and then again on Sunday at 9 a.m. And of course, on Sunday we have the funeral at 11 a.m. for Ina Hamill. And then Wednesday is Yiddish choir. Yiddish choir, the best little Yiddish choir anywhere. I tell you, I'm going to take them around the world. They are that good. And put them up against, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Is that the boys? Is that a boys choir or is it?
I think it's
just the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Yeah, our guys will just eat them alive. I'm telling you, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir will be having trouble with pronouncing the Yiddish. So our people are way ahead there. But that's Wednesday night at 7. You won't you won't be disappointed if you join in. And I think that's it. It's a quiet week. It's a quiet week. All right, we will close out with Adon Olam 321.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Liet Nasa B'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'Kahare Kiklot HaKol Livahado Imloch Nohora Vehu Haya Vehu Over Vehu Yeh B'Tifara Vehu Echad V'Ein Sheni Laham Shilo Lach Bihira B'li Reshit B'li Tachlit V'lo Ha'oz V'Hamisra Vehu Eli V'Chai Goali V'Tzur Hevli B'Yetzara Vehu Nisi Umanosli Menat Kosi B'Yomekra B'Yahado Avkid Ruchi B'Eti Sham B'Yahira B'Im Ruchi Geviati Adonai Li V'Lo Ira.
All right, let's see who says hello to us this week across the interwebs. Jenny Bro, wishing everyone a peaceful Shabbat. Thank you, Jenny. Same to you. Oh, there's Mom. Shabbat Shalom from Rabbi's Mom and Cliff. Enjoy the nice fall weather. All right, you too. Donna Wilson, Shabbat Shalom to everyone. It's been a great day, but Shabbat services make it a bit lighter. Thank you, Donna. Shabbat works its magic. Melanie Samuels from the holy city of Brooklyn. Best wishes to everyone for a very happy Shabbos. And ML and Herman Glazer, Shabbat Shalom, and same to you. Everybody enjoy Shabbat. Have a wonderful Shabbat. Be careful out there, and we'll see you soon.